Cheers, everyone. It's Wednesday, the 12th of March. Breakfast blend this morning. Cheers. Back with my favorite black sweater. All ripped out. Worn it to death. So, the saga continues. I'm just going to sit with you for a few minutes and show you some music because it's a saving grace. It certainly is. It most certainly is. Yesterday I forgot, they were sitting here, but I forgot to show where in my night listens, I've gone back to some old favorites. And so the other night, I pulled out my Eno box, the instrumental box in particular. Remember when these came out? And then there was a problem with that one slot with the glue. I have the vocal box as well. Yeah, I grabbed these when they came out. Glad I did. And what was nice is that the night listening, laying in bed, I listen to, once I put it on, I listen all the way through unless something is really not hitting it. And Eno deserves all the accolades that he gets. The two discs, I listened to two discs, and it was like, except for one slightly clunky, trying to do an African thing from my life in the Bush of Ghosts period. It was not smooth sailing. It was wonderful listening, quite varied. He doesn't do he's not a one-trick pony, never has been. Brian Eno, I think, is another master. Real good. Oh, I didn't even bring in, just right quick. Yesterday was a music day. I did mainly lounge yesterday and have a couple puffs and listen to music while browsing the net, looking at news updates, weather. I particularly dislike the way that the world is clickbait, especially on the internet. YouTube is like an international TV. I know there's other platforms, but YouTube is huge and widely used. And so much clickbait, where it's like, the tragic ending and the thing that he died with, the secret he died with, and all this bullshit. And I try to avoid that stuff because it's like, I don't want to feed into it, even though I know it's not going anywhere. So I did some vinyl yesterday. A bit all over the place, so let me just show you what I played. There's some prog in here. But the night listening has reconnected me with my deep love of calming music that can loosely go into the cosmic new age category. And so here's one last night where I had to play this twice all the way through on one side. The title side, Sonic Perfume by Don Slepian. The B side of this is more on the light side. But this is just, he gets it so right on Sonic Perfume. It's like you're stepping on stars through the night sky. and they're twinkling, and it's really fantastical, like a fantasy, but a beautiful one. Don Slepian, Sonic Perfume, Audion. This label, most what I found on the Audion label is very good. They were getting it right, and I'll show the label there. In association with Gem Records, Gem Imports. You certainly got a fair amount of business from me, as much as I could afford back in the day when they were bringing in imports. Here's a prog band from France that I like, King Crimson oriented, and at the same time, there's a bit of a clunkiness about the band. Shylock, Ile de Fièvre. This is their second album. The drummer is trying to be busy and progressive, but you can also hear where his tempo. Just every now and then you can hear him struggling to keep the tempo steady. I just notice those things as a player. This is pretty cool. But like I say, I have their first album, and they sound like they're still getting their chops together, writing and playing wise, but it's ambitious and it is good, and it's an interesting cover. Shylock. Here is where I was getting into that quote unquote new age sound last night. Played 3 albums in a row by Michael Shrieve, original drummer for Santana, also in Automatic Man. Transfer Blue Station with Kevin Shrieve, his brother, and Klaus Schultz. This is very good. Very good. One side is totally the Klaus Schultz thing. The electronic thing with percussion. Really well done. Is this on Novice? No, this is on Fortuna Records. Really very good. And the thing about this music, to my ears, is that this music has not dated too much. This holds up. Here's one where RCA Victor Records was jumping on the new interest in jazz and new age music, the Novice label. Stiletto. This is good. With David Torn, Mark Isham, Andy Summers of the Police, Terje Gewalt. In recent times, I've watched some interviews with Michael Shrieve, and he's a humble musician. He's a straight up cool guy, and a deep music lover all the way back, like myself, which is really how I ended up with getting involved in the band Santana and helping to stretch Santana's wings jazz-wise. If you didn't know that, Michael Shrieve was an influence, turning Santana onto some stuff jazz-wise you didn't know about. This is fantastic. I won't bother to show. It's another Novice. But here we go with Steve Roach and Michael Shrieve. The Leaving Time. And you bet they come through on this. This is... I think these records, again, have aged very well. They just glide by. It's just real good. Interestingly enough, now, a few more. I was in my S's, and so I had played some Fred Simon on a nighttime listen recently, shared that. I came across the Simon and Bard records that I have, and this is Mosaic with Larry Coryell on the Flying Fish label. This is that they play a kind of a middle ground between jazz, rock, a bit of prog, a bit of folk country, but really, when they get it right, about a half of this album is really good. Fred Simon is a good pianist and composer, and that's what stands out on here is when his chops are together. Good band too. He's got Paul Vertigo on drums, David Onderdonk on guitar, Steve Rodby on bass, as well as guest Larry Coryell. And for example, people who like stuff like Daryl Anger and Shadowfax on Windham Hill, check this out if you don't know this. It's in that wheelhouse. Daryl Anger is real good, but I would probably rate this better than Shadowfax. And I have another of their albums. Played both of these all the way through. This is their second album, made in 1982. Even better than the first. Tear It Up with guest Ralph Towner. Okay, and the Ralph Towner feature on side 2, Octabloon, is a workout. It's like, boy, you put Ralph to work on that one. It's got a nice quick pace, and this is real good. Real interesting cross between folk and jazz and new age. That's how it's good music, really. Good, bright, uplifting music. Not dark. It's one of my complaints about the major music industry is as they look for the lowest common denominator of what will sell the most, it always ends up being something more on the dark, negative, exploitative side. You know, people are still boosting Satan and all that bullshit for sales, which is just not my cup of tea. So here, I was in the S's, and rather than play the first album, I played the second, and love this band. Silver Apples, Contact. This is the infamous second album with the cover where the Pan Am logo is right up there. You got a deal to use a cockpit, but Pan Am didn't realize what they were going to show on the back, which is a crash landing of a plane. And Silver Apples, I believe, got sued and had to pull this off the market or change the back cover. This is an original. And I love this stuff. And they were ahead of the times. They really were. And as I listened to this, listening to the track Ruby in particular, which I love, with the banjo and the electronics, back in the early 80s, besides Digital Sex, I was in a local band with Joseph Budenholzer of Backworld, where he and his friend Jerry started this thing called Disco Ranch. Now, I don't know that Joseph was aware of Silver Apples, but in retrospect, they were doing something very similar to I was in the band. I actually helped produce the one record that we made, an EP, which is collectible because they mostly got destroyed. That's another story. But as I was listening to that Silver Apples, I was like, yeah, oh geez, yeah, Disco Ranch, we did something like this. And it led to me playing this Silver Apples, The Garden. This was supposed to be their third album, but it didn't happen. So the story is that Simeon, in 1995, decided to look up Danny Taylor, the drummer. Finally found him through a radio station. They got together, found some old tapes, and did some updated some drum tapes that Danny had, and produced this. And this is good. This is Silver Apples, The Garden. Some of the noodly tracks are noodly, but mostly this is more of that unique Silver Apples approach and the sing-songy way they do the vocals. I like that. I do have the first Silver Apples album as well. I'm just not showing it because I didn't play it last night. This is good. What else? Got a few more here. Like I said, yesterday was an enjoyable day where I just was, again, thankful for my retirement years and my retirement and not having to work, hoping that lasts, concerned that they're trying to steal our Social Security. We earned that money. I've been working since I was 15. I earned it. I haven't been on Social Security that long. I haven't gotten my full part back yet. Here's one that was just wonderful. Conrad Schnitzler, along with Borngräber and Strüver. Construct. Some of this is that buzzy sort of Conrad Schnitzler sound mixed with these other guys, and just a black label. And this is just good. This is, it's kind of like Faust too. There's a certain amount of minimalism going, but once they get the parts percolating, it just carries you along. And this is real good if you haven't heard this. Conrad Schnitzler, one of the godfathers of German electronics and radical approaches to sound art. He's the guy that used, back in the 70s, would go out in public with a helmet with certain attachments and just assault people with sound on the streets. A little bit of jazz. Carl Berger with Dave Holland and Ed Blackwell, Transit. This is not a knockout, but this is good. Carl Berger on vibes, yep. Very enjoyable. That's the word for this. It's not fire. Nice. On Black Saint. I'll show this label. This is a cool label. Black Saint and Soul Note Records. Good quality, good ears, whoever is running this label. Discerning ears. Everything I've heard on Black Saint is good. Amazing Blondel. A folk band, folk rock band, where this album is them getting more into a pop. But the first track on here, Mulgrave Street, the title track, gorgeous, love it. It's a standout. The whole album is pretty good, but that title track is what got me to keep this. I have some more of their records. I don't listen to this too much, but this is the sort of thing that I keep. This is the sort of thing that's in my wheelhouse. And this is just fantastic. Listen to a lot of this. This is a 4-record set from Cannes. Irmin Schmidt, Villa Wunderbar, a selection curated by Wim Wenders, the film director. This is wonderful. Irmin Schmidt, as you know, original member of Cannes, keyboardist, studied with Stockhausen. He is a gifted composer as well as keyboardist. And this shows the gamut of his talents. Film music, music for dance, left of center pop music. This is excellent. And I like his voice when he sings. I've always liked his voice. Irmin Schmidt, one of the premier bands of all time, Cannes. And I remember when I got turned on to the band Cannes, back in 1972. It went over my head at first, but it didn't take long before I became a fanatical fan. A couple more. This was a journey that was worth taking, and I love having these records, although they show their age as far as when you listen to them. Pierre Schaeffer, Le Traître Fertile. And what I mean by that is that this is early exploration of electronics, oscillators, filters, VCOs, okay? I think the original studio in France where this all started to come together. So you can hear where he's dialing stuff up and turn it here, turn it there, see what it does. Some of the compositions actually end up sounding composed, but mostly, since I know this stuff, I can hear where he's twiddling knobs, and he's the first. He got to be the first Inogram label. And so this was enjoyable. And also, like I said, kind of a history lesson, because like I said, I could hear, and I sure know what that does now. This is probably one of the first times it was being done with electronics. Pierre Schaeffer. Know your history. One more? Oh, a couple more. Okay. The last things here are some prog. And this is the band Morgan, Nova Solace. If I got it right, Tim Stafford, the singer in this band, was originally in Smile, which became Queen. And musically, I love this album. Morgan Fisher on keyboards. Morgan Fisher, wasn't he in Procol Harum as well? Still has the insert. Now, Tim Stafford has a dramatic RCA. I've always loved that old RCA yellow, orange label. It's a bit. Now, I mean, as far as vocals go, it's because of the context of this album. I can hang with the vocals. Another one I have to glue here. But it's a little dramatic, and probably if I'd heard it now, it's like, no, But for the times, especially early 70s, it's pretty cool. And the music is very good. Keyboard oriented, totally prog. A lot of changes. Here's another. Atila. I want to get it right. Yeah, Spanish band, Barcelona, it says on the back. Intención. I've been thinking about pulling this as I was thinking about prog. I don't know how well known this prog band is. Keyboard oriented. On here, they hit the side 2 is a sidelong track. Unfortunately, it has one of those boring drum solos. Reissue on the Wah-Wah label. Wah-Wah's done a lot of real cool stuff. A lot of cool reissues. And this is one of them. I mean, it's got the whole booklet. I like that about the labels that do this, where they dig up the goods and they tell you the story. They tell you the whole story. This is quite a booklet, actually. Good band. I would have to read the booklet again because it's been so long. I don't remember how well they did at the time in their home country. Atila. Because I have another of their albums I'm going to show it here that I played both yesterday. Enjoyed them very much. Atila, Reviewer. Another reissue on Wah-Wah. Yeah. So you proggers who watch share your thoughts on this if you have this in your collection. Maybe some of you have been lucky enough, because some folks have shared where they've seen some of these bands. Interestingly enough, this has the same input, same insert as the other one, which is not a problem, but it's like, okay, that's how you take care of that. The story is so comprehensive, the booklet works in both releases. Atila, Reviera. Okay, and then last night I fell asleep good. So I only played a couple things. Actually, I have 2 things waiting, and I'll show those after they get played, because they didn't get played. But this was a surprise. I thought this was darker than I remember. Last night, this was a delight. Bohren und der Club de Gore. Bohren for Beginners. It's a double CD on Play It Again Sam. And maybe this is the band in, okay, so I like how it goes here. Bohren for Beginners and Bohren for Advanced. And I didn't look at that last night. I just put on the first disc. And it was nice. Like a dark, smoky nightclub, slow-moving piano jazz. I was surprised, actually. Someone sent this to me, and I had forgotten. A friend of mine, filmmaker, Jordan, down in, I forget where he moved. I think he moved to Memphis, but I met him in Atlanta. He is a big fan of this, and when I was visiting down there last time, we listened to some of this together. It's pretty dark, but he had a lot of their records, which are not common. And the last thing that I played was this morning, actually. This was my wake-up. Reich Remixed, Steve Reich, however you say it. Remixed. And there's a couple of standout remixes on here. There's one in particular that Ken Ishii's Come Out remix is really good on here. The Andrea Parker also, but Cold Cut Howie B. This is some good stuff. DJ Spooky. Nobukazu Takamura. That might be the one that really gets me. Reich Remixed. That's what I have to share. So what's all this stuff on my, I guess it's the first of the month, and it's time for junk notifications in your email. Okay, folks, that's what I have for you today. Y'all take it easy, and I'll talk to you in a minute. Family, love you forever.